Elijah. He was so bold and brave. A few chapters later, he's so discouraged. He's asking God to kill him.
When you have a parent say, no, don't put your hand on the burner, on the stove, you don't say, well, why won't you let me? But we do that with God.
Only good choice I've ever made is accepting Jesus. Sorry, I'm getting teary-eyed. Because everything else after that, God's given me.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Lavender Fields Flop, the show where we make the mistakes so you don't have to. I'm Ethan, and this is my co-host, Michelle, my mom.
Yeah.
And we usually start the podcast with a flop for the week, but we don't really have one singular flop. It's sort of been a couple of weeks for us here.
Yeah, but for sure, the last week has just been, I don't know about you, but there's just been kind of just some discouragement. We've got sickness in our house. Just
I would say,
lingering.
if you can tell, she's sick.
Yeah, we've
So
got.
if she sounds like a chain smoker, coughs into the.
You told me not to, but then you brought it up.
Yeah.
But one of us in our family has pneumonia and bronchitis, and
Same person.
we just
Someone else had to go get antibiotics.
2 chest X-rays and antibiotics, ear infections, and you seem to have beat it in like 24 hours.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. That's how you beat COVID. But anyways, discouragement. Just a quick talk about discouragement, because I think we've all been there. But just, being sick, and then we're trying to get this lotion formulation perfected.
Well, it's not just one lotion. We're trying to do a whole lotion line.
True.
For
Yeah.
this next season. So.
And there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of flops. There's just, let's make a small batch and this is wrong with it. Let's tweak that. Okay, this is wrong with it. Let's tweak that.
And then you think you
And-
got it, and the emulsifier didn't work, and they separate, and
Yeah.
you're excited to see it, and you come in, and there's water at the bottom and everything else up top.
Yeah. And it just gets old, and
It wears on you.
It
'Cause
does.
I mean, it's not free,
it's not free.
especially at the quality we're doing. The ingredients are expensive.
They are. But it's worth it, because we want to bring our customers a quality product. We don't want to just throw something together and make money on it. We want it to be
Go ahead.
something that's healing and nourishing and not necessarily expensive, but it has quality products in it, and then it has the lavender essential oil. And
Well, and the hardest part for us is we're trying to keep the lotion natural.
yes,
Yeah. You can get the results we want a lot easier using chemicals.
And we've learned kind of the hard way that when you find something online, somebody's sharing their recipe. Now, this isn't for everybody, but it seems like the majority that we find, it's not perfect. Like who's going to give you their award-winning recipe for you to do? So
If you're trying to do something at a retail level, finding it online on a blog probably won't work. It only took us around 10 times, probably more than that actually, to figure that out.
yeah,
Um,
and it's just it's trial and error. And my friend Sarah, my soap mentor, she told me last week that they say that it takes about 10 times of making mistakes when you start something new before you get there. And I found that with the soap, and I think we're finding that with the lotion. And so, here's how I dealt with the discouragement this week is I thought I could just whine about it, because that's usually my go-to, like come to you and say, oh, I'm just discouraged, I want to quit. And
we both do that to each
Yeah.
other. That doesn't ever help morale.
and the problem is when I do that, you aren't discouraged. And then I say I'm discouraged, and then the next day you come to me and you're discouraged.
Yeah.
So my discouragement just makes you discouraged. So I decided this week I wasn't going to talk about it. And
I appreciate that.
and so I actually,
I knew you were discouraged-ish,
yeah,
but not to the point where it was, I don't know.
yeah.
It didn't affect me.
Right.
I mean, I was discouraged this week too.
And so it was during the day that I thought, I'm just discouraged. And I guess I just wanted to dump it all and talk about it. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to put that on Ethan. And so I told myself, all right, tonight I'll just talk about it with my husband, your dad.
which he's a lot better at that.
Yeah,
He
he doesn't take it on.
he doesn't hold emotion.
He's able
He doesn't
to just let
hold other
things go.
people's emotion
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, he's good at that. But then night came and I thought, you know what? I just don't want to spend the energy tonight bringing that up. And so by the time I got to the next morning, I wasn't discouraged anymore. So it was just like giving it that time, that wait time, and knowing not to put it on somebody else who's in the same boat as me. See, he's not working on the lotions. He's not working on this. So if I were to tell him, it's not going to discourage him. And so I think that was new for me, is sitting on it. Time heals a lot of things, just giving it that time, and then something good happens, and then you're less discouraged. And like we said, being sick doesn't help. And so the next
Especially
day
when
you feel
everyone
better.
in the house is sick.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't ever really sick.
Yeah.
Maybe I was. I don't know.
And Nils wasn't. Son-in-law wasn't really sick,
but,
and baby wasn't really sick.
But dad was, sister was. Just having to take care of them, worrying about them. Especially my sister has always had, when she's gotten sick.
Yeah.
Take it more seriously.
Right. So anyways, that's just my thought for the week, is that not necessarily a flop, but I think for growth for me, where I didn't get down with the discouragement, because we're to a place, like we've talked about before, we're to a place where we're not going to quit. There's no going back. I mean, if we quit, that just flips your life upside down.
Well, it flips everyone's life upside down.
So
I mean,
we're going forward through the discouragement.
but I think it's just important for us to sum this up. I think it's important for you guys as the listeners to realize that just because you have a business and a podcast, I mean, maybe on the outside looking in, it looks like we have it good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's interesting to step back from your position and you see, we're doing a podcast and we talk about, we have a farm and a good family, but there's still days where it's hard to keep going.
Yeah.
And I think it's just good to remember for everyone that everybody goes through that. It's not just, I mean, social media and stuff makes it look like everybody's doing good.
Yeah.
But
Including
everybody's,
us. I mean, we're not going to post. I mean, that's what this is about, is to post the flops. But yeah, social media usually is about the good things. I know there's people that post the bad things, but we learn from them. And that's why we started this, so that we can just share our perspective, share what we've learned and how we've dealt with it. So anyway.
So just real quick, what episode is this? I think we're on 7 now.
No idea.
So I have a bit of a flop for the week.
Oh, okay.
We're on episode 7, and she still can't talk into her mic correctly. Just get a little closer to it. We can't hear you great.
Oh, I've never in my whole life had a problem being heard. So I think I hold back.
Yeah, but
I grew up in the
I tune
80s
your mic to where like it picks up your voice nice, and it
know.
doesn't. So yeah,
I grew up in the 80s where you had like mics weren't like this.
don't play the old person card. I grew up in the 80s. You grew up in the 70s. She's older than you think.
But I like the growing up I remember was
I know.
the 80s. Anyway.
She was born in the 60s.
I was not. You were born in the 20s.
Well, that's
that
true.
Did not make sense.
I was born in the 2000s.
Yeah.
All right, but
when they make fun of me for being old, I make fun of them like they're younger than they should be.
she's never done that.
Oh, I have with your sister. When she says I'm 60, I'll say, well, you're 15.
Well, that's good. I don't know.
Okay.
I was always mistaken for like older than I always was.
Yeah. Except the dentist we went to.
Yeah, they were like,
Does he need a doctor's note to go back to school?
Yeah. And you're 22, just
Yeah.
in case our listeners don't know.
no, I
Yeah.
don't. But
No.
when I was like 15, people always thought I was in my 20s. So
Maybe it's because we go to the dentist together to get our teeth cleaned.
I don't know. It's like
It's
a
just a
weird
thing
thing
we
we do. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the dentist is like literally a mile from our house.
Oh, no.
And we live out in the middle of nowhere.
True.
It's weird. But
All right. I won't say we digress.
yeah,
no, I'm not
let's-
going to use that word this episode's show. Moving forward.
to our subject for today, we wanted to dive a little bit into how God puts stuff in front of you, even when you might not see it, but he always seems to have it prepared for you.
Yeah, he's a
I don't
step
know,
ahead.
you want to say that better? I feel like
He's just a step ahead of us.
good thing my mom's a English teacher helping me here.
That's right. Somebody has to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when we started this podcast, we wanted it to be about our flops, but we wanted we wanted the spiritual aspect of it because we wouldn't have our farm without that. Because I believe that God gave us our farm.
Well, and that was the whole point of starting it too. Like, starting the farm was a step of faith.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just saying, like, you starting the farm wasn't starting the farm on your own accord. You started the farm because you believed that was God's will for you at the time.
Right.
So that's the whole reason we started. That's my point.
Yeah.
Is that's the whole reason we started the farm was because of God.
And if you missed that one, we talked about that episode
A couple
5?
episodes ago.
I think it was episode 5. Because last one was all about you. And before that was all about me. Okay. So, so I wanted to do this episode.
There's 2 of us.
I want to do this episode on how God's always been a step ahead of us. Like, I didn't know.
That's a better way to put it.
I didn't know I needed the things I had, and we'll just get into it, and maybe it will come together. So I think, going all the way back to buying this place, we were in Ohio, and we've talked about it was in the middle of COVID, and my husband's job he got a new job out here in Michigan. So that's how we ended up here. And that was just kind of weird.
Let me break it down a little bit here. There's a bit of holes here and there.
Oh, I've been sick.
I'm
just trying to move it along. I don't want to
I know. I was just going to break it down for everyone.
break it down.
We're in COVID, and we're going to move up to Michigan. And my dad was the one we were moving here for. He had a job here lined up.
Right.
And you still had to finish the school year down in Ohio. So we had to stay there, finish the school year. We were homeschooled at the time through an online school.
Right.
So
shout out to K-12.
yeah. So our school could be done anywhere.
School.
And he had to commute for 3 months.
Yeah. He
came back on the weekends, which that was devastating. We had never not had, he was with us every day. He wasn't the kind of dad who went on business trips. And, so that was definitely a weird time.
Which makes you question, what are we doing? What is this? What is God doing? So, of course, we had to buy a house, and
we also we had to sell our house during that time.
In the middle
and this
of
is
COVID.
peak COVID.
Yes.
So
yes,
just a lot of stress and
so we started looking for houses up here in 2019. We came up here in October. We came up here in December. We put an offer on a house in December. And
almost that was the first thing.
That's true.
We were about to buy the house, and we figure out the well pump is in the master bedroom.
Closet.
Yeah. So you're sleeping, all of a sudden, it's loud.
And the radon was really high.
Yeah.
And so we got out of that contract. And that those of you who have bought houses know that that's just such an emotional roller coaster. But every night I'd lay in bed and look at Zillow, and all of a sudden this house comes on the market. It's 150, 175 years old, and it's a organic berry farm. And I just thought, wow, that's really cool. I would love that. And
at that time, any hope was a good thing. We had been through a lot at that time. We had come up here, like you said, we had a down payment on that house.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying is, like, the hope of finding something like that was huge for us, just because he was leaving every week, gone the whole week, coming back on the weekends. We didn't have a house. We didn't have, let's be honest, at least growing up, he was the anchor for our house, and he was gone.
Right.
And finding the house was sort of like the determining factor for us being together again.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, the hope there, we were all very excited to find anything.
Yes. So he came out and just drove by it, and sight unseen. We didn't walk inside of it. All we had were pictures on Zillow. We put an offer on it, and we they accepted our offer, and
which was a God thing.
which was a
'cause it
God
was
thing. And then
lower than they were asking,
and then
which at that time was sort of not normal because it was a seller's market at that time. So there was a lot of people buying houses.
yes. Yeah, there were people behind us. But
Yeah,
we were
and
the
they-
first one. We were the first one to
But
look
we
at it.
underbid what they wanted.
Yeah.
And they took it.
And so anyways, then after we put the bid on it or the offer, they accepted it. We came up here and we looked at it, and I realized they used wide angle lenses to take the pictures, and the bedrooms were really small, really short ceilings. I mean, it was not
7 feet ceilings.
not what I expected, but it's a 175-year-old farmhouse,
Mhm.
and close to the road.
Moderately busy road.
Yeah. And it was during COVID. So, nobody was out driving around. And so as things started to open up, more traffic came by. So I had a lot of doubt of, did we do the right thing? And God put it before us. I know he did, because when it was time to start our farm, it was here. And it's not that the farm was just here. It was that it's sandy. That's what lavender needs. It's on a slope. That's what lavender needs. Because it was an organic farm, they had windbreaks on both sides. That's what lavender needs. So it wasn't just that we bought a farm. We bought a farm ready for lavender. It was
They had taken very good care of the land.
the land was organic. I mean, it was organically certified.
Yeah.
And we thought about doing it, but we just couldn't keep up with the cost of an inspector coming out every year, charging by the hour to be out here. I mean, it just
You also sort of have to be sort of a butt to your neighbors.
yeah.
Because we have places that spray, and
Yeah.
you have to stand up for that. And it's just like, I mean, when you have an orchard that's got 50 acres, they've got to spray their apples. I mean,
yeah. So
but that's the kind of spray that makes us not organic. And
yeah. So
it just causes fights for
we
no
grow
reason.
naturally, and we've done the best we can to be natural, which lavender doesn't need a whole lot of chemicals. So it's not hard to grow naturally. But so from there, again, if you want to hear the story of how we started, that's episode 5. So it was at that point that I started seeing that we had needs that would come up, but God already had taken care of them. One of the, buying the house, and then just something small. I think this was the first time I really realized it, was we had when we first started, we had a huge strawberry patch. And when we started to get the certifications for our farm, our produce certification, the inspector came out and said, because the strawberries are low to the ground, we really needed a fence around the strawberries, because rabbits coming in, eating, leaving poop next to the strawberries. So, okay, here we are. We
And
need
this
to put a
wasn't
fence.
this wasn't a really nice strawberry bed where you could see in between the plants. It was a sort of a strawberry weed patch.
It was very weedy. I mean,
Strawberries are a glorified weed. They
being
grow like
organic,
a weed.
They let the weeds, the
But
weeds.
It wasn't just the weeds. Like the strawberries had overgrown like crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot.
They were just compacted, and it's not like you could see stuff in between or
Yeah.
what was living in between.
Right.
It was a mess.
So we put up this fence, and so you're thinking, oh, there's a cost of a fence. And then I realized we had everything we needed. We had the posts that somebody had just given my husband all this fencing and these posts. We didn't know what we needed it for. This was months before, and we just had it sort of in the woods. And so it was like snow fencing, I think is what they call it, where it's just like thick plastic
Yeah.
and it has the holes in there. So we had enough to put these big, tall wooden posts and cable tied this fencing all the way around it. And God had given that to us before we even knew we needed it.
So I guess that brings me to a question. I mean, it's not just for you, it's for everybody. We've listed multiple things now that we've seen God, obviously, in places on the farm where we knew it was him. His hand was leading, he was guiding us. But we started this episode talking about discouragement. and how even after this week, something like sickness or us struggling with lotion brings us down and quitting comes to mind. Why do you think that is?
Why quitting is my
What-
go-to?
For everybody. Like why do we have a hard time trusting God when he's shown us so many times in the past?
I just, because we're human, because we just doubt. I mean, think about in the Bible. I've so many times I think about the Israelites in the, in the wilderness. They had a fire at night and a cloud during the day guiding them, and they still doubted and
Yeah.
they still complained. And I just think it's human nature. I mean, Jesus was here, and the disciples were with him, and they doubted. I mean, doubting Thomas,
Yeah.
and I just think it's human nature. And so I think it is a choice. It's like Elijah said, choose God or choose Baal. You got to choose. And so I think it boils down to human nature and just making the choice.
I also think it comes down to when you don't get the answer immediately, or where you have the strawberry patch and you don't have the fencing, or you bid on your second house and you don't get the offer. I think it's times like those where you got to look at the situation and not go, oh, God has forgotten me. You got to sit there and say, I'm glad God is testing my faith and making me stronger. Because if it weren't like the times we've just described and this past week and stuff like that, our character wouldn't grow and we wouldn't get closer to God.
Right.
I just think that's an important thing for us.
Right. Yeah. And I think something that comes to my mind in situations like that, when I've thought, oh, I want to quit, is the story of the Israelites when, they left Egypt because of persecution. I mean, it was horrible for them. And here they are in the wilderness and they're griping because they want their leeks and their onions and they want to go back to Egypt, to slavery. And I've actually had that conversation with myself when I wanted to quit. And I thought, do you want to go back? Do you want to go back to the classroom?
Yeah.
That's where you were. You were a slave in the classroom and you were miserable. And so because it's not going your way right now, just like they complained about not having meat and not having water, they wanted to go back to slavery. They were willing to go back to what they left. And so I remind myself of that. Okay, I want to quit, but what do I have to go back to? So I keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And it is I think it's a choice. It's a choice to
Faith is a choice.
It's a choice. And I think we reevaluate things. You and I have had discussions. We actually wrote it in our calendar of, is this worth it? I remember it was in February or March, and we wrote it August 1st. We're going to look at this. It was like 2 or 3 years ago, and ask ourselves, is this worth it? We're going to get through the summer. Is it worth it? And we got to it, and yeah, it was worth it. But I think, just keep reevaluating. I mean, there's been times that we've tried things and it wasn't right.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm the creative one, and I know I have tons of ideas and I try some of them. In fact, I think you and Hannah laugh at things that I like. The time I wanted to make the puff quilt, I saw a quilt with like puffs in it.
Yes.
And I showed it to you and I showed it to Hannah, and furniture flipping, and I have all these ideas. And I guess I just think I'm going to try them, and some of them aren't going to work.
That was part of the problem when we started the farm.
Yeah.
Is that you didn't have anyone regulating you.
Yeah.
That sounds bad.
And I think it might have been one of those, oh, it's just another one of her harebrained ideas. And anyway, I feel like we're kind of going down this path of my crazy ideas. But to answer your question, it's human nature, and we have to make that choice. And I guess reevaluate. Is it worth going back to, is it worth quitting? Is it worth going back to whatever quitting leads you back to? And I've just been determined that I was not going to quit this, even though I wanted to, even though I said it. Deep down, I knew I wasn't going to.
I think we should also note, when we say quitting for us is, it seems like that's what we've always done. I've gotten it from you, I think.
I think so, yeah.
But it's just like when something's not going right, at least for me, and I'm guessing for you too, you're just trying to flee the feelings and that situation as fast as you can.
Yeah. And you know, I'm glad you brought that up because I realized when we started the farm why quitting is my go-to, because it's lack of control. If you quit, you're back in control.
Yeah.
And so I realized patterns in my life was just to quit. It was so I could be in control. If you quit, you're back in control. You're back in the driver's seat. Whereas I've told myself, I'm going to stay put. I'm not going to move. I mean, that's my go-to is, well, let's
There's
just
been
move.
multiple times
If we just
wanted
go
to
somewhere
move.
else, we can get a new job, we can start over. And we've done that. But I think that I feel like God's blessed that and led us.
We've never done it where we're over our heads in
no.
too deep on something and just moved.
No.
But there's been times during this season of the farm you've wanted to do that.
Yeah, remember I wanted to move to Montana?
I do.
We were just going to sell the whole thing and move to Montana.
She was serious.
Oh, yeah. Except Montana, they're like $1 million houses for what we have.
No, she was looking like 50-acre.
No,
Yes.
I would never do that. Yeah.
If I sell the farm, we'll get $500,000 for it, and we can put it into a big house.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But then I was in control. So I think it is. What? It is?
It does?
It goes back to human nature, in control. And faith in God is not being in control.
That's hard.
It's extremely hard. And so I think next time we want to quit, we need to go back and listen to this podcast and remind ourselves of these things. So
one thing we always talk about with each other, not always, but that I've reminded you about and you reminded me about, is something we heard a couple years back from a sermon where the pastor was talking about spiritual amnesia.
yeah,
And I think that's such an important thing. The concept is, if you look back at all of your life, you can see all the things God's done for you, his hand, and you know that he hasn't failed you. But when you're in the situation where it's hard, you forget everything God's done. And you're like, well, God, why are you punishing me? But you've forgotten all he's done, and that maybe he's not punishing you. Maybe he's trying to mold you, shape you, or just saying no because he's protecting you.
right.
I mean, when you have a parent say, no, don't put your hand on the burner, on the stove, you don't say, well, why won't you let me? But we do that with God.
Yeah.
We sit there and whine and complain and say, no, I'm going to do it anyway. And then sometimes we do it anyway and we reap the consequences for that.
Yeah. I think it's about because he's an invisible God, you know, but then I go back to the Israelites. They had this cloud, they had this pillar of fire, and they still doubted, you know, and we had Jesus here. People still doubted. So I don't know if we had God sitting next to us in the podcast, I think we'd still have doubts, you know. I just think it's human nature. Yeah. And we are comfortable with questioning that. And you know, something just came to my mind about quitting is, you know, I talked about Elijah. Here was Elijah, you know, in the Baal worshipers, and he was so bold and brave to, you know, mock the Baal worshipers and then have his sacrifice. He put water on it. He was so brave. He just knew that God was going to, you know, show himself and burn up the sacrifice. But then a few chapters later, he's so discouraged, he's asking God to kill him.
Yeah.
And so even, you know, Elijah, this Bible hero who was taken up to heaven and had so much bravery, even he was discouraged and ready to just quit. You know, God, kill me. I'm ready to quit.
I think it is also interesting to note, though, before that whole thing with Baal, God made him sit by a brook for, we don't know how long. It doesn't say. People speculate it was over a year.
Yeah. Or 3 years. I can't remember.
That it was a long time. It wasn't just a week.
Yeah, he had to sit
And that
and do
builds
nothing.
character. And it's times like that, and it's times like this past week where you're making lotions over and over and over and over, or you name it. I mean, there's so many things in life where you just have to sit, and it's really hard.
Yeah. And I think that,
But my point is,
sorry.
My point is that I don't think Elijah could have done that had that strong of faith, had that just been so sure of God, if he didn't have that time to sit in faith with him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so those quiet times, maybe that is your character growth.
The quiet times, the times things go wrong, they don't go the way you want.
And waiting on God.
Yeah.
You know, there's a saying, don't just sit there, do something. Years ago, I felt like God said to me, when you guys were little and I was at home, stay home mom, that, you know, and I'm a creative person. I just want to do something. I don't sit still very well. And that God said to me, don't just do something, stand there. It was the opposite. Don't just stand there, do something. This was, don't just do something, just stand there. And I think there are times in our life when God is telling us, you don't need to do anything. You just need to sit there, sit by that brook, sit there and just wait.
I think it was also Elisha that I don't remember. Was it Elisha or Elijah, where he was looking for God? I don't remember the exact story.
That's okay.
But he hears him in the quiet.
Oh, that's Elijah. Yeah. In the cave. That was right.
Yes.
That was the same point where he said, God, just
I
kill
thought
me.
so. Yeah.
And he was looking for him in the wind. He was looking for him in the thunder. And he walked outside and he found him in the quiet.
And I think that is so interesting to think that this was probably days after he had left the brook.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't
know
think,
because he had been running from Jezebel and running from Ahab and he
That's
just being
true.
worn down.
But right, I mean, it had to be close to that time. It's funny how even the greatest heroes in the Bible can forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he sat by a brook for a year, and
I want to say it was 3 years, but I don't remember.
at least a
long time.
year, a long
Yeah.
time.
And this is in Second Kings. Anybody, you know, that wants to look up the story, I'm going to say Second Kings chapter 7, but don't quote me on that. But it's somewhere in there because it's talking about the kings and Ahab and Jezebel and just the persecution.
But it's just God reminds him.
Yeah.
That-
I'm here, even in the quiet.
Yep.
Even
And
in the discouragement.
I've always heard that when you feel the farthest from God is when you're the closest. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe that's because that's when you start to sit in the quiet.
And lean on God.
And you have to lean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not actively seeing him because there's definitely times where you see God. You see God's hand, you see God's hand, you see God's hand, and then it gets quiet. And then you start questioning. We're so quick to question, you know?
We are.
I can see all these things God has done on the farm.
And try to take back control.
Take back control.
Just like the Israelites with the golden calf.
Yep.
Moses left for how long?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, might as well take it back into our control and start worshiping gold.
Including Aaron. I mean,
Yeah.
he was there.
Are we any different though?
Yeah. No, we're not. We're not any different. The disciples weren't any different. It's just human nature. It's just sin. And so I guess that's why we read our Bible. That's why they call it the living word, because there's sometimes that those stories just stick out to you because that's where you are. And, in the times of discouragement, if you're discouraged, go back to, the Old Testament is just so full of good stories. The New Testament after the Gospels, I feel like it's just Paul teaching.
It's a Paul Yap Fest.
It is true, but there's
some good stuff in there, but
there's good stuff, but it's teaching. But I feel like the character building is in the Old Testament and the Gospels, but really it's those Bible heroes. It's looking at these people who we hold up as a hero.
It's funny you say that. I feel like the Old Testament is stories of character building, and the New Testament's almost like a rule book of how we can find character building today.
Yeah.
Because in the New Testament, I feel like a lot of the stuff Paul talks about, Peter talks about, James talks about, applies to us today.
Yeah.
And it's not, with your 500 wives or whatever, it's like you look at the book of Job and he's got, how many of everything. And it just doesn't feel realistic. How am I supposed to connect with someone who's got how much livestock? And
right.
It
doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. But when Paul's talking about temptation and, how he struggled with it and stuff like that. It's just like you can relate to that today.
Right.
For yourself.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. But yeah, there was a time when I first became a Christian that I only read the New Testament. And I didn't think that there was a place for the Old Testament. I mean, that was just my baby Christian self.
Next podcast. That's an amazing story.
It is. God's good. Best, only good choice I've ever made in my life. Is what I tell myself. Only good choice I've ever made is accepting Jesus. Sorry, I'm getting teary-eyed. Because everything else after that, God's given me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only good choice I've made. Because without that, I would just be making bad choices. With just human nature, we make bad choices. But that's the only good choice I made. So, anyway, when I found the Old Testament and I started reading the Old Testament, I realized how much our character can grow from looking at those Bible heroes. And I'm sure we can. I mean, God had everything for them before they needed it. He was a step ahead. So I guess, this isn't where we were going with the podcast, but I'm good with that. We sat down today and we said, okay, where are we going with this? Because we don't usually have a plan. I mean, we have an idea. We have an idea. We have
an outline.
And so, I said, I really want to bring it back to giving God the glory. And so we came up with the idea of God being before us. And I really feel like the Holy Spirit's just kind of taken the podcast this direction. So maybe we're speaking to people out there who are discouraged, because that's a huge thing, because, discouragement leads to quitting, and quitting, this is a really heavy topic, but to me, the ultimate quitting we've talked about is suicide, and that to me is the ultimate.
I feel like
up.
that's the devil's ultimate goal.
Sure. Yeah. If he can get you to quit, God can't use you. God can't use you anymore. And so discouragement, snowballing, discouragement. Don't have someone to talk to,
And you do.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, the devil, it's amazing how easily we can forget and lean on ourselves. And it's because we're human, but it's also because of the devil.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing how much it makes it sound like he lives within us. When he's, what am I trying to say? It's amazing how much the devil can make you forget what you're doing. Distract you.
Yeah.
And he can change a day from that's a good day to a bad day really quick.
Sure.
Without leaning on God.
Yeah.
And I think it all stems from leaning on yourself.
Yes.
Anytime I felt like I'm really depressed or really sad or wanting to give up, it's because I'm leaning on myself and I feel out of control. Mm-hmm. I feel like there is no end. Like there is no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. And sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it really feels like that. Just like Elijah in that cave. Where are you?
Yeah.
He was talking big on the mountain. Choose God or choose Baal. And there he is in the cave saying, where are you, God? And I guess it's human nature to be discouraged and want to quit. And I guess maybe that's the ultimate flop as well, is just quitting, and God can't use you anymore. When you get to that point and you've decided that you just can't go on, that Satan's won, because God can't use you anymore. And he has a plan. He has a plan for every one of our lives. We don't know what that is.
Nope.
And just like God's had a plan for our farm and he's before us, he's before you as well. He has a plan for you. And if you're discouraged, I guess I would say pick up the Old Testament. Look up Elijah. Look up the Israelites. Look up Moses. Moses, he worked so hard for God. And then God, he didn't get to go into the promised land. And there's just so many good stories. And, just sit down in the quiet with God, with your Bible.
And I'll also say, if you're going through a hard time and you have no one to share with, we'd love to, you can direct message our Instagram or whatever. And
Yeah. Or email us.
yeah, we'd love to talk about it. Maybe not even talk about it. I mean,
pray with you.
yeah.
Because sometimes, that's we feel stuck.
I was going to say, when I said at the light at the end of the tunnel, I feel like it's when you're leaning on yourself, you're in the tunnel looking for the light at the end that never comes. And that's why people who are in that tunnel, some of them, I think a lot of them take their own lives because that light never comes. When you're leaning on yourself, you can only white knuckle it. You can only numb out for so long before you just realize that you're just in a desert.
Yeah.
There's no oasis. But I think it's all an optical illusion that we need to remember that we're not in a tunnel. That God has said multiple times in the Bible that we just have to lean on him. Like, it's not hard.
Yeah.
We make it this hard thing that, I'll lean on God, but I got rent due next month and he can't help me with that.
Right.
But he doesn't say, like, you can only come to me for this. You got to lean on God for everything. And I'm not perfect at that.
No. And I think, it's easy for us who've been Christians for so long. I mean, you grew up with it, you've your whole life. I think some people might think it's cliche to say, lean on God. What does that look like? But it's like you said, it's an easy thing. We make it harder than it is. I mean, it's just pick up your Bible. If you don't have a Bible, just sit and pray to God. Just ask God to reveal himself to you.
And if you're like me, it's always been hard for me to let go because I felt like when I let go, I feel peace. And when I feel peace, I'm getting complacent. And maybe that's another podcast for another time of why I've felt like that. And I've had to sort of change how my brain is wired. But I'm having to learn that just because I feel peace doesn't mean it's wrong. And right. I expect there's a lot of people out there who feel like that if you're not struggling, if you're not having to hurt to get to point A to point B, then it's not worth it. Or you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
If you haven't struggled from point A to point B and you feel peace, then you didn't earn it. And I've felt that for so long. And I've found myself trying to earn God. But that's just not how it works.
Right.
So.
I was just thinking of a conversation I had with my husband the other day. We were talking about witnessing and telling people about Jesus. And I have found in my experience that if I just go to my neighbor and say, hey, let's do a Bible study, I want to tell you about God, that doesn't come across. I don't think they're going to be as receptive as somebody who is discouraged, somebody who doesn't know where to go, somebody who feels like they've really messed up and there's no hope. That those are the people, that's where I was, and I've gone to AA meetings and Al-Anon and so many 12-step programs because I had nowhere else to go. And that I just think that those programs are so good because it's just about admitting that I'm not in control. There's a God. And anyways,
I think that is it right there. What you just said is meetings like that are designed to throw your ego out the window. Those meetings are not designed for you to sit there and say, well, this wasn't your case, that you didn't go to an AA meeting because you were an alcoholic.
No, I went because my dad was.
But you don't go there and say, hi, my name's Ethan and I'm an alcoholic. But not really.
Right. I mean, if you do, you're going to get called out on that. That's the
whole thing. You don't get to do that. You don't get to go there and be half-hearted. You're all in.
Right.
And that's throwing your ego out the window and saying, you know what? I am an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I am Al-Anon, codependent. I am addicted to everything, anything and everything. Right. It's just.
Yeah. And
it applies to God too. You got to throw your ego out the window, and that's hard.
Right.
I think especially for men, I expect it's harder than it is for women. For the ego, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not a woman.
I mean, I've always heard the male ego, but I don't know because I am a woman. But
But I always go back to humble thyself in the sight of the Lord, and He will lift you up.
right,
Doesn't say carry the weight of the day on your back, and He will lift you up.
right, right.
How are you? How
Yeah.
is He supposed to help you if you're not going to let go?
Right.
But
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just about if you are in a place where there's no hope, then, it's about admitting that I have a problem of something and there's a God and I'm not it. And, in 12-step programs, they talk about a higher power, whether that higher power, some people start out with that higher power being the table, just admitting that something is bigger than me. And then it kind of, transitions from there. I mean, there's people that are so low and down and helpless and addicted and whatever that they just feel like, I will call this box my God because I need something. And then,
hope,
yeah, anything. And then you come to realize that, okay, well, there obviously it's not that's my God. There has to be something that is a God. And so I guess, this podcast is for somebody out there because we did not plan to talk about this. So if you are that low and I would say, get out your Bible. If you haven't, go to a 12-step program. I went to an AA meeting because my dad was an alcoholic. And, you can just sit there and you can be quiet. You can say, my name's Michelle and my dad's an alcoholic and I'm here, to work the 12 steps because I'm not in control of any of that, and it's just,
and
um,
I think the devil does such a good job, especially with discouragement, that anything and everything you feel like you're the only one. He does such a good job at that.
and we do a good job of hiding it, so that people
Because
don't
the devil,
know that we're discouraged.
exactly, and because that's part of the devil's lie is making you feel like you're the only one, and you'll be ostracized if you say, I'm an alcoholic, or I do drugs, or I'm addicted to pornography, or
Anything.
expect
We all have
for
something.
anything and everything. Probably half the population probably struggles with it. You're
And we
not
all have
special.
something.
No.
All right. Side note here.
But then we need to wrap this episode up.
Yeah. So we'll just on a humorous note. Before I say that, I just want to again say if you need to reach out to us, we're gonna put our email address up there on the screen, or message us through social media.
Yeah, in the description we'll have our socials and stuff.
Yeah, and
we would love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear from you and pray with you, or just encourage you that
Yeah, and then it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's talked about.
Yeah.
Either if you would just need someone that you just need to share your situation with,
Yeah.
we're not here to blast it on the internet. If you really just need someone to share it
No.
with, we're here.
Yeah.
If you want to share your story, maybe you went through something hard and your story could help others.
That's what we're all about. The flops. Well, I guess no matter what it is, but we take for granted that we have people praying for us. You've got praying parents. I've got praying in-laws. There's
Yeah,
somebody always praying for us.
You don't realize the power of prayer till it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's people out there that don't have somebody praying for them. I can't think of anything more discouraging than to think that there's no prayer. There's nobody interceding for me. There's nobody asking for me to be with me. So anyways, we'd love to pray with you, encourage you. But just so you know that we're not perfect.
What are we, Canadian?
Yes.
Oh, you betcha.
Yes. That we're not perfect. That we like to eat ice cream in our house.
All
right. So Ethan and I will make these plans. Okay, well, we're not going to have ice cream in the house. And then my husband, your dad, will go to the store and buy.
We've
find a
talked about
sale.
that on a previous episode.
Have we?
Yeah.
Okay, buy 2, get 3 free. And
he
come
does it
home
twice.
with a mother load of ice cream. And, I've tried to put for myself, Friday night is when I'll have ice cream. Self-control and all that. So just so you know, we're not perfect. I had to buy a key for our freezer in the basement.
She has no self-control. Like, it's all her, not me.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
It's
and,
both of us.
And we have to hide the
Yeah,
key.
not the one who buys 10 ice creams.
Yeah.
He can have a
He
bowl.
can have it. He has the
sit in the freezer.
self-control.
It's fine.
Yeah, he can
And then
have the
there's
ice
us.
cream
It's
upstairs.
like,
I see the ice cream. It's
Ice
like,
cream.
or it's been a hard
Sugar.
day. I'm discouraged.
I earned this.
So right
We
now,
didn't do anything.
right now the ice cream is locked in the freezer in the basement. I do know where the key is, and if that becomes a problem, I'm gonna send it home with Hannah, and she can keep it at her house, and we'll get it on Fridays. So we all have our issues. I know that one's not huge, but
Hey, you know what?
I have to have a key
You know
to
what
lock
Paul
away
said
the
in the
ice
Bible?
cream.
You got to flee from it.
I
Flee
did.
from temptation.
Lock it away. Yeah. All right. So on that note,
That is the eye she is gouging out. Lock it away.
it's my thorn in my flesh.
On
Yeah.
that note, we started the podcast out talking about our discouragement and how we saw, God while moving here. And
Yeah, we had this whole list of these things that
But-
we've saw God, but we've seen God, but yeah, we went this direction. I know there's a reason. So we'll
And-
wrap it up there so we don't keep repeating ourselves.
But
we were reprimanded. for
just
that.
I was trying to just sum it up. That's okay.
Go for it.
We
I'm
already
done.
did.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening. I hope someone out there can really benefit from this. Not from us, but from the Holy Spirit within us. And
Yes.
thank you guys for listening. And as always, we don't just say it as a punchline to end it. We really do mean it, that lavender does grow best on rocky soil. And it does. Lavender as a plant grows best on sand and in the rocks, and it thrives without water. And we as humans are shaped through hard times, not when when there's water being poured on us and the sun's out every day. So
All right.
always remember, lavender does grow best on rocky soil. And we will see you next time.
All right. You know what we should do? We should do a pets flop. That would be good.
We have one of those inside. Throw up a picture of Fergus.